I've been tempted to upgrade my camera lately, to switch from this 8-year-old tech to something newer. I was very close. But after a few days of internal struggle, something happened, and I think that I finally made peace with the idea of sticking with the A7Rii II for photography in 2023 and hopefully beyond that. So let me tell you why I was even thinking about this, what made me stop, and why this camera gives me more than what I need for photography. And don't worry, this is not going to be a video about evil corporations and how they push consumers to buy the newest, greatest, and shiniest gadgets, even though all of that is true and definitely a factor. This that happened to me has more to do with creative ruts. You see, since I got here to the Midwest a month ago, I've been working hard on a couple of projects and not going out as much as I used to, not doing a lot of photography. And for someone like me who needs to do that as often as possible, that comes at a price. That is losing the momentum, not feeling like taking photos as much as before, and second guessing myself and things. It is on those moments that I resort to the easiest way out, and that is a new piece of camera gear, a new camera, a new lens, something that will push me to get out again. That one thing I convinced myself my camera bag has been missing, and I didn't even know about it. I think this might be a familiar feeling to some of you, but of course this is all an illusion. But let me tell you why I wanted to upgrade my old trusty A7Rii II, the reasons I came up with. I've had this camera for 3 years now. It was 5-year-old tech already when I bought it. Ancient by today's standards, I guess. And in many cases, it does feel that old when I compare it to my A7 IV, the camera that I used to film the videos for this channel, and the one recording me now. Something that is often forgotten when talking about camera gear, but it is very necessary to provide is some context, because my needs might not be the same as your needs. What works for me might not work for you, and vice versa. So you might find some of the features of the A7 IV and the newer cameras like much better autofocus a must for your photography, but my subjects usually don't move that much, so that's not something I have to have, and that applies to a lot more features, of course. So to understand where I'm coming from, you need to know that most of my work is like this, square black and white images, and the A7 IV lets me compose in square in camera, a feature that the A7Rii II somehow does not have, and something that Sony just won't give us with a firmware update. Why would they when you can just spend $2,500 in a new camera, right? So that's a very nice feature that I would like to have in my stills camera. The battery life is pretty nice too. I've been shooting in very cold conditions lately, and the A7 IV just keeps on rolling while I have to keep switching batteries on this one, and it'd be pretty convenient too to use the same type of batteries on both cameras. And lastly, the dual SD card slot is something nice to have as well. This camera only fits one memory card. I've never had a card failure in the field, but that doesn't mean it can happen. It definitely happens. So having 2 memory cards is like having insurance. And whenever that happens, if it happens to me in the future, I might regret it very much. So those 3 features alone would be really useful for my photography, for my needs when it comes to photography. Seeing the square composition in camera could lead to me making better images. The new batteries could make my workflow easier, and the dual SD card slot could protect me against disaster. That is what I was telling myself, that those reasons were enough to justify another purchase. And they probably are. I was so close to pull the trigger. But after a few days of struggle, of constant rumination, something happened. It snowed. This winter had been very mild, and we had no snow for weeks. Snow is what I love the most about the winter here in the Midwest. So when that storm finally came, I grabbed my camera and went out to do what I love doing the most, to take pictures and record videos. It was so beautiful out there, wonderfully beautiful. I made several great images that I can't wait to share with you in the next few videos, and I made them all with this camera. Well, I made some with the A7 IV too, so I didn't have to change lenses, but most of them were made with this one. And you know how many times I wished this camera had this or the other features while I was shooting those beautiful landscapes? Absolutely zero. I was totally mesmerized by the moment, and I couldn't care less about the camera I was using to capture it. And I've given it exactly zero thoughts since then. I realized once again that having highs and lows in our creative journey is normal, something to be expected, periods that we have to go through, and times where we're going to be tempted to take the shortcut to buying a new camera or a new lens, because those things won't get us there alone. Even when they come with actual pretty useful features that could make us slightly better photographers, we need to remind ourselves of the reason of why we do this, because that is all that matters. That's all we need. Otherwise, we'll always be struggling and drowning in a world where there will always be something slightly shinier and better than what you currently have. So the A7Rii II will be my camera of choice for 2023, and I hope it will be for a long time after that. After all, it still produces some beautiful images, and it's got only some 29,000 shutter actuations, and it's supposedly rated for 500,000. I'm sure something else will break before that, and at some point I'll have to switch to a new camera, but whatever is out there when that happens. Anyway, I just wanted to share this little struggle I had with all of you, because I'm sure this is something that happens to most photographers very often. Maybe a new camera is what you need, or maybe like me, all you need is to just get out and get motivated and inspired again. I hope the video was useful. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one.